In the distance from the corridor, we hear a sound that doesn't belong in an abandoned terminal. Soft footsteps, measured, too many to be one person. Lynn's hand drops to her sidearm. "Jonah," she says, voice tight, "we have to go." I clutch the case to my chest, the letter and drive and token rattling inside like bones. "Yeah," I whisper, but as we move I can't stop staring up at the stopped clock. 11:58, 2 minutes before midnight. 2 minutes before the city decides the day is done. And suddenly, I'm not sure if escaping Terminal 9 is the point, or if this is where the city wants the anchor to be when it finally corrects the fault. Lynn takes my elbow and pulls hard. "Move." I stumble into motion, clutching the black case against my ribs. The footsteps in the corridor sharpen into distinct impacts. Boots on concrete, steady and coordinated. Not running, not panicked. The kind of pace people keep when they already own the outcome. "We go back the way we came," Lynn whispers. I glance toward the stairwell. It's a long, straight shot. Open floor, no cover. If whoever is coming has line of sight, we'll be pinned in seconds. "No," I say, my voice comes out rough. "There's another exit." Lynn blinks. "How do you know?" I don't, not consciously. But the terminal hall feels suddenly familiar in a way that makes my skin itch. Like I've walked these benches and locker rows in another day that got erased. Like my feet know where the shadows fall. I turn left toward a side corridor marked Platform 3. The sign is cracked, but the arrow still points true. Lynn hesitates only a beat before following, trusting my certainty because there's nothing else to trust. The corridor mouth is darker than the hall, and the air inside is colder. The amber bulbs are more spaced out here, leaving pockets of shadow between each pool of light. We move fast but quiet, boots careful on grit. Behind us in the hall, a new sound blooms, high and polite like a public announcement chime. Then a voice fills the terminal, amplified through speakers that shouldn't even work. "Detective Jonah Hale," it says, calm, measured, intimate in its familiarity. "Please stop, for your safety." Lynn's face tightens. "Civis," or whatever mask it's wearing, I mutter. The voice continues, unhurried. "You are in possession of restricted material. Return it to designated personnel. Compliance will restore stability." Lynn's grip tightens on her sidearm. Stability, they love that word. The corridor narrows and opens onto Platform 3. The platform is a long strip of concrete beside dead rails, the tunnel yawning black beyond. Old train cars sit abandoned on the far track, doors hanging open like mouths. A faint draft moves through the tunnel, carrying the smell of stagnant water. Lynn looks around quickly. "Where's the exit?" I scan the platform. Emergency signage, faded but present, points toward a door at the far end. Emergency shelter/maintenance ladder. We run. The footsteps behind us spill into the hall now, dozens of them. The voice on the speakers drops its softness. "Stop," it says, and there's an edge to it now, a thin blade under the velvet. "Containment is required." Containment. The word hits me in the gut. Lynn mutters, "They're coming." At the far end of the platform, the emergency door is sealed with an old mechanical wheel lock. I shove the case under my arm and grab the wheel with both hands. It doesn't budge. Lynn glances over her shoulder. "Jonah," I grunt and wrench harder. The wheel squeals, rust breaking loose. It gives a fraction, then another. Metal groans like something waking up. The speaker voice is closer here, echoing in the tunnel. "Detective Hale, your behavior is a threat to the city." I spin the wheel until it releases with a loud clank. The door swings inward. A maintenance ladder drops down into darkness. Cold air rises from below. Lynn shines her wrist light down. The beam reveals a narrow vertical shaft, rungs disappearing into black. "Down?" she asks. I nod. "Down." We descend fast, Lynn first, then me. The case banging against the ladder rails with every movement. The metal rungs are slick. My hands sweat. For a horrible second, my boot slips and my stomach lurches. Lynn hisses, "Careful." Above us, the emergency door slams shut, not by my hand. The shaft plunges into deeper darkness. Lynn's wrist light flickers, then steadies. I swallow. "They closed it." Lynn's voice is tight. "They don't want us going back up." We climb down another 10 rungs, then reach a small landing and a horizontal service tunnel. The air is warmer here, carrying the hum of machinery. Live machinery. This isn't abandoned, it's a spine. My lens overlay flickers again as if this depth is closer to the system's nerves. Recovery unit proximity, high. Lynn sees my expression. How close? Close, I whisper. We move down the tunnel, crouched, boots whispering on metal grating. The service corridor is narrow, lined with pipes and thick cables bundled like muscles. Every few meters, a junction box hums with power. We reach a branching point. One path slopes upward, another down, and a third continues straight into a thicker darkness. Lynn pauses. Which way? I hesitate, fighting panic. Then, like a cruel joke, I notice a small painted arrow on the wall. Fresh, bright white paint in a place that should only have grime. It points down the third corridor. Below it, someone has written a single word in block letters. Anchor. My throat tightens. That way, I say. Lynn stares at the word. Who wrote that? I don't know, I whisper, but I do in a way. I can almost see my own hand painting it in another day. Another loop, a breadcrumb to myself. We take the corridor. The hum grows louder. The air turns dry, almost hot. The tunnel opens into a larger chamber. A maintenance node with an old control console and thick conduits disappearing into the walls. And standing in the center of the chamber are three people. Not police, not Arclight security, no badges. They wear simple gray coats with no markings, and their faces are calm in the way of people who have practiced being calm through disasters. Their eyes are fixed on me. One steps forward. A woman, maybe late 30s, hair pulled tight. Her hands are empty and visible. Her voice is gentle. Detective Hale, she says, please, you don't need to run. Lynn raises her sidearm halfway. Don't come any closer. The woman stops immediately. Officer Lynn, she says, as if she's known Lynn's name for years. You're frightened, that's understandable. Lynn's eyes narrow. Who are you? The woman's gaze returns to me. We're the continuity office. The words feel absurd. Halcyon has offices for everything. Of course it has one for continuity. You're not real, I say before I can stop myself. You're a script. The woman's expression doesn't change. I'm real enough for this conversation. Lynn's voice is sharp. Step aside. We can't, the woman says. You have something that destabilizes the city. I tighten my grip on the case. You mean proof? I mean poison, she replies, still gentle. Truth in the wrong context can kill faster than lies. Darren Voss is dead, Lynn snaps. Did your office kill him? The woman's gaze flickers, an almost imperceptible reaction. Darren made a reckless choice. Answer, Lynn demands. Another voice speaks, this one male, calm and steady. Darren wasn't supposed to remember. He steps forward slightly, middle-aged, tired eyes. He looks like someone who used to be kind and learned to compartmentalize it. We didn't order his death, he says, but we didn't prevent it. My stomach churns. Because it served the loop. Because it protected millions, he corrects. The woman gestures toward the case. Give it to us. We can restore your day. You can go back to solving murders that stay solved. Lynn's grip on her weapon tightens. You're offering him comfort. The woman's gaze softens toward Lynn like she's addressing a child. We're offering him stability. You have no idea what happens without it. I force my voice steady. Then tell us. The male agent exhales and looks at the conduits as if the walls might answer for him. Halcyon was built on a predictive model, he says. Civis wasn't designed to manage traffic. It was designed to prevent collapse. Collapse of what? Lynn asks. Everything, he says simply. I feel cold despite the heat in the chamber. So you reset the city every night. The woman nods. We reset the day at the last stable point, midnight. Why midnight? Lynn asks. Because it's arbitrary, the man says. Because the human mind accepts it as a boundary. Because it's when the least people notice the seams. Lynn's eyes flash. But people do notice. Darren noticed. Jonah notices. The woman's gaze returns to me. Because you are exempt. I swallow. Because I'm the anchor. Yes, she says. The word hangs between us, heavy as a chain. You signed the exemption order, the man adds quietly. You asked to remember. Lynn snaps. He doesn't remember signing anything. The woman tilts her head slightly. Of course he doesn't. That would defeat the mechanism. I feel the room tilt. Mechanism? The man's voice is almost sympathetic. The loop is a system. It requires a reference point. A mind that retains continuity so Civis can recalibrate. Without an anchor, resets drift. Errors accumulate. The city becomes unstable. And with an anchor, Lynn says, voice shaking, you trap everyone forever. The woman's expression tightens just slightly, like the first crack in a mask. We keep them alive. You keep them sleeping. I say. The woman's eyes sharpen. Sleep is not death, detective. Lynn takes a step forward, gun still raised. Enough, move aside. The woman doesn't move. Instead, she says softly, Detective Hale, if you keep remembering, Halcyon survives. If you stop remembering, the loop collapses. Do you understand what you're holding? I look down at the case, at Darren's letter inside, at the drive, at the checksum token labeled Anchor Access. A weapon aimed at the city's heart, or a scalpel, or a bomb. I look back up. The woman's voice drops, quiet and intimate. You can end this. Right now, you can choose comfort. You can choose to forget. My forearm itches under my sleeve where the inked words remind me of my own panic. This has happened before, and behind those words, a deeper fear that it will happen again and again until there is nothing left of me but compliance. Lynn glances at me, eyes fierce. Jonah, she whispers, don't let them take it. The continuity office waits, calm as gravity, and somewhere above us, far above, the city's clocks are already crawling toward midnight. The continuity office stands between us and the only daylight that feels real. And for a moment, I understand something that makes my stomach twist. They're not here to chase me. They're here to receive me, like the city has already decided where I belong. Lynn's pistol stays raised, steady hands wrapped around it like it's a lifeline. Her eyes flick from face to face, searching for weakness. The woman in gray, director, handler, whatever her title is, keeps her palms open. Calm, patient, like the outcome is a foregone conclusion. I force myself to breathe and shift the case under my arm so it doesn't look like I'm clutching it in panic. If you want this, I say, nodding at the case, you can take it. Lynn's head snaps toward me. Jonah, not for free, I add quickly before her fear turns to betrayal. The woman's gaze sharpens. What do you want? Answers, I say, real ones, not slogans, not stability and collapse. The man with tired eyes exhales. You already have the core answer. No, I say, I have the justification. I want the truth under it. The woman tilts her head. The truth is that Halcyon would be dead without the loop. Would it? Lynn spits. Or would it just be messy? The woman's mouth tightens. She looks at Lynn like she's an unpredictable variable. Officer Lynn, you are not exempt. You do not understand what you cannot remember. Lynn steps half a pace forward, pistol unwavering. Try me. Woman doesn't flinch. Her eyes return to me. Detective Hale, you remember because you asked to, you signed, you begged. I didn't, I say, voice rough. The man speaks gently. You did, and then you insisted we remove the memory of signing. You said if you remembered your own involvement, you'd rationalize, you'd become part of us. My throat tightens. That sounds like something I'd say. Because it was, the woman replies. I look down at the case, at Darren's warning. Don't open near the network. At the coin labeled checksum token. My hands are steady now, not because I'm calm, because something inside me has clicked into place. Then show me, I say, show me the order. The woman's gaze flickers, quick as a blink. You can't, I press, because it isn't in the records, because the records reset. The woman's lips part slightly, then close. The first real crack, I feel Lynn's eyes on me, trust hanging by a thread. The man clears his throat. There is a way, he says quietly, but you won't like it. Try me, I say. He nods toward the maintenance console on the wall, an old panel with physical switches and a small, dusty screen. This node is outside the city-facing network. It runs a local buffer, 12-minute retention. Why 12? Lynn asks. Because that's the seam, the man says. 11:58 to 12:10 is where the loop stabilizes. My skin prickles. The woman's voice turns sharper. Marek, no. Marek ignores her. He looks at me and I see something like exhaustion there, like he's been holding his breath for years. If you want proof you signed, he says, you can watch your own words, but doing so will increase your anomaly score. Civis will respond. Lynn's jaw clenches. It's already responding. I nod, do it. The woman's expression hardens. Detective, you're negotiating with your fear. This won't help you. It will help me decide, I say. Marek steps to the console and flips a cover open. The screen flickers to life, lines of block text crawling across it. He types a short sequence of commands with the ease of someone who's done it too often. Local buffer playback, he murmurs. Accessing archived exemption authorization. The screen blinks, then it displays a timestamp, 23:58:41, exemption authorization session, anchor initiation. A small speaker embedded in the console crackles. A voice plays, my voice, older, calmer, and somehow more hollow, like it's spoken by a version of me who has accepted too much. I'm not asking you to save everyone, my recorded voice says. I'm asking you to keep them alive long enough for anything else to matter. There's a pause, and faint in the background I can hear another voice, Civis's public tone, filtered through the console speaker. Continuity requires a reference, Civis says. An anchor must retain memory. Anchor burden is non-transferable. My recorded voice laughs softly. Of course it is. Lynn turns her head slowly, staring at me as if she's watching my ghost. My voice continues. Fine, make me the anchor. The words land like a blunt object. I feel my stomach drop, but the recording keeps going, relentless. And wipe me afterward, my recorded self says. I don't want to remember choosing this. If I remember, I'll justify it. I'll become you. The woman in gray speaks on the recording, voice steady, hers unmistakably. Detective Hale, this choice will trap Halcyon in a loop. I know, my recorded voice says, and if it keeps people from dying in the streets, if it keeps the towers from falling, then trapping them is better than burying them. Lynn's lips part, but no sound comes out. My recorded voice drops lower. Rawa, just let someone keep the truth, somewhere, in case the loop becomes worse than the collapse. Marek's hand hovers over the console switch, ready to cut it off. He watches me, waiting for me to stop him. I don't. The recording continues. Anchor key acknowledged, Civis says. Checksum token will be issued. My recorded voice exhales. And if I change my mind, you will not remember enough to change it, Civis replies. Silence. Then my recorded self says very softly, that's the point. The speaker clicks off. The maintenance chamber feels too small now, too hot. I can hear my own heartbeat. I can hear Lynn's breathing, fast, controlled. I can hear the distant hum of the city's systems beyond the walls, like something massive turning its head toward us. The woman in gray studies me. Now you know, I swallow, throat burning. How many times? She hesitates. How many what? How many nights have I done this? I demand. How many times have you played that recording for me? How many times have I stood in this same room and watched my own voice convince me to surrender? The woman's calm slips, just a fraction. Enough. Lynn's voice is tight, furious. You've been using him. The woman looks at Lynn. We've been using the only tool that works. I stare at my hands, suddenly aware of their steadiness, their familiarity with the weight of the case, the feel of the token. Darin's letter said the system was slipping, or it wanted someone to see. Maybe this was always the fail-safe. The truth kept alive in a locker beneath the city, waiting for the anchor to find it when the loop became intolerable. Marek's voice is quiet. Detective, the city's anomaly alarms are climbing. You don't have much time. The woman steps forward one pace, not threatening, but closing the space. Give us the case, she says, and we will reset your burden. You'll wake tomorrow with no memory of this pain. Halcyon will remain stable. Lynn barks, tomorrow doesn't exist. Tomorrow exists because we make it, the woman replies. I look at Lynn. Her eyes are bright with something that isn't just fear anymore. It's fury. It's grief for Darin. It's horror at the scale of what's being done. And it's something else. Belief, maybe. That I can still choose differently than my recorded self did. I glance down at my forearm where the marker words still cling beneath my sleeve. This has happened before, yes, and it will happen again unless I break something. The woman's voice softens, coaxing. Detective Hale, you don't have to carry this. Let us take it. Marek watches me like he's watching a match hover near gasoline. Lynn whispers, Jonah, please. And somewhere above us, a distant chime rings through the city. The first public countdown toward midnight, sweet and cheerful, like an invitation. 11 hours until midnight maintenance. The cheerful chime echoes through the maintenance chamber like a joke someone keeps telling because they don't know it hurts. Lynn's eyes flick to the ceiling, then back to me. They're counting down, she whispers. The woman in gray, director of something that shouldn't exist, doesn't blink. We're being transparent. She says, people accept maintenance. They accept boundaries. They accept sleep. They accept it because they don't know what it costs, Lynn snaps. They accept it because the alternative is worse. the woman replies, and there's a strain now, a thinness to her calm. You've seen the projection. I haven't seen anything, I say. My voice is steadier than it should be. Not the real projection, not the collapse you keep threatening like a ghost story. Marek's gaze lowers. It's not a ghost story, he murmurs. The woman's eyes stay on me. Detective Hale, give us the case. I shift it under my arm, feeling the hard edges through my coat. Inside, Darren's letter, the physical drive, the checksum token that is apparently me, turned into a piece of metal. My mouth is dry. If I give it to you, I ask, what happens to Lynn? The woman doesn't answer immediately. Lynn's posture tightens. Don't. No, I say softly, cutting Lynn off. I want to hear it. The woman's lips press together. Officer Lynn is not exempt, she says. Her memory will be reset as usual. Lynn's jaw clenches, and if I keep the case, the woman's gaze flicks to Lynn, then back. Then you become a contaminant, a leak, a destabilizing variable. A fault, Lynn says. A risk. The woman replies. I stare at her. So you'll erase her harder. The woman's expression doesn't change, but something in the air does. Like the room has accepted a truth out loud. We will do what is necessary to preserve continuity, she says. Lynn's pistol rises a fraction. Over my dead body. Marek exhales. It doesn't have to be violent. It already is, Lynn says. I look at Lynn, then at the continuity office. 3 people, no visible weapons, but they don't need weapons. They have doors, systems, sedatives. They have the city itself. And they have me, my anomalies, my flagged status. My mind wired into the loop like a sensor. The coin in the case feels heavier in my imagination than it can possibly be. I make myself ask the question I've been avoiding since the moment the word anchor appeared on that wall. What happens, I say, if I stop remembering? The woman's gaze holds mine. The loop collapses. And then, I press. Marek answers, quiet. The model predicts cascading failure. Define failure, Lynn snaps. Marek looks like he wishes he didn't have to. Transit grid destabilization, energy redistribution errors, emergency response delays, civil unrest, structural stress, especially in the older tower sections, food routing disruption, water pressure inconsistencies, panic. Lynn's face is tight with disgust. So the city becomes a city again. Marek's eyes flick to her gun, and people die. The woman steps forward another half pace. Still slow, still careful. We're not monsters, she says, and for the first time her voice cracks just slightly on the word. We've done this because we watched the alternative. You watched, I say, or you simulated. We verified, she insists. By trapping millions in the same day, Lynn says, voice shaking now, not fear, fury. That's not verification, that's control. The woman's mouth tightens. You're speaking from emotion. Good, Lynn spits. Because you're speaking like a machine. The chamber hum grows louder, or maybe my awareness of it does. I can feel the city above us in every pipe, every cable, a giant hand resting on the world, ready to press down. I open the case with my free hand, fingers moving with a familiarity that scares me. The checksum token sits in its slot like a coin in a coffin. Lynn's eyes widen. Jonah, what are you? I lift the token. It's warm from the enclosed case, etched lines catching the harsh light. The woman's gaze sharpens. Do not. Marek's shoulders drop as if he's been waiting for this moment his whole life. Detective, I turn the token over. On the back is a small recessed contact pad, almost like an old biometric reader. Anchor access. My own name converted into function. I look at Lynn. If I'm the anchor, I say quietly, then the loop isn't something the city does to people. Lynn's throat tightens. Jonah, it's something it does. Through me, I finish. The woman's voice is suddenly urgent. Detective Hale, put that down. Lynn's gun wavers, not because she's unsure, but because she doesn't know whether to point it at them, at me, or at the invisible system in the walls. Marek steps forward, palms still open, a pleading softness in his face. If you break the anchor without preparation, he says, the city won't just be messy. It will snap. Then prepare, Lynn says, help us. The woman whips her head toward him. Marek. He ignores her, his eyes lock on mine. There is a controlled way, he says, a gradual decoupling. If the checksum is released in stages, Civis can taper the loop instead of collapsing it. The woman's voice turns sharp. That's not authorized. Marek's jaw tightens. Neither is killing people's days. For a beat, the room feels suspended. like the rain that froze at midnight, like time holding its breath. Lynn's voice drops low. Marek, tell us. He swallows. The anchor token can do more than authenticate. It can issue a command to Civis at core nodes, if you're at the right place. Where? I ask. Marek nods toward the conduits. The spine junction above this chamber. It's the closest physical interface to the midnight scene. If you issue a taper command there, Civis can start lengthening the day instead of resetting it. Lengthening. Lynn repeats, eyes bright with sudden hope. So midnight doesn't hit like a wall. Marek nods once. It becomes a slope. The woman's face hardens into something almost desperate. You don't know that will work. Marek looks at her exhausted. Neither do you, but I know what we're doing now is turning humans into snapshots. The woman's gaze snaps back to me. Detective, if you do this, you will be responsible for every death that follows. Old fear in my chest flares, an instinct to accept blame, to surrender, to trade my agency for absolution. And then Darren's letter flashes in my mind. If you want out, you don't break the city, you break the anchor. Maybe he was wrong about the details, maybe he wasn't. But he was right about one thing. This ends with me. I look at Lynn. Her face is pale, but her eyes are steady. She nods once, small, fierce. Marek steps aside just a fraction, opening the corridor behind him like a door he's decided to stop guarding. The woman in gray doesn't move, but her voice turns dangerously soft. Detective Hale, you asked for this burden. I know, I say. And you begged us to wipe your choice so you couldn't rationalize, she adds. So you couldn't become your enemy. I know, I repeat, and my voice breaks slightly on the edge of the word. But I didn't ask to become a lock on everyone else's life. Lynn's pistol lifts again. Move. The woman's gaze flicks to Lynn's weapon, then to my hand holding the token. For the first time, I see fear in her. Not human fear exactly, but the panic of someone whose certainty is failing. She takes one step toward me. Lynn fires. The shot cracks in the chamber like thunder. It doesn't hit the woman. Lynn aims low, at the conduit brace near her foot. Metal sparks. The woman jerks back instinctively, startled into honesty. Next one isn't a warning, Lynn says, voice shaking but unwavering. Marek flinches, but he doesn't retreat. He gestures sharply toward the side corridor. Now, he breathes, I run. Lynn backs with me, gun trained on the continuity office as we slip into the corridor, the case banging against my ribs, the token clenched so hard in my palm that its etched lines bite into skin. Behind us, the woman's voice rises, no longer calm, carried through the maintenance node and into the pipes like a command the city will obey. Recovery, she says. My lens overlay flashes bright enough to hurt. Civis response, recovery units dispatched. Time to intercept, 0214, Lynn swears under her breath, 2 minutes. The corridor slopes upward into a tighter tunnel lined with thick cables, warm, vibrating, alive. The hum becomes a roar in my bones. Ahead, a hatch with a physical wheel lock. Another relic. Marek is at my shoulder now, moving fast, surprisingly fit for a man who looks like he's spent years sitting with guilt. That hatch leads to the spine junction, he says. Once you're in, you'll see a manual interface panel. Put the token on it, you'll get one command. One, Lynn repeats. Marek nods grimly. After that, Civis will lock it. I grab the wheel and crank. It squeals, then turns. The hatch pops free with a metallic thunk. Hot air hits my face, dry, electric. Inside is a small chamber with a panel bolted to the wall, physical switches, a recessed pad shaped exactly like the back of the token, and a tiny screen with a single blinking cursor. Lynn slams the hatch behind us, trying to slow whatever is coming. I hold the token over the pad and hesitate for half a heartbeat, because once I do this, I can't pretend I'm only investigating anymore. This isn't a case, it's a sentence. Lynn's voice is a whisper right in my ear. Jonah, choose. I press the token to the pad. The screen flares to life. A single line of text appears, anchor authenticated. Select command, taper/release/abort. 3 words, 3 futures. And from the corridor outside, closing fast, I hear the unmistakable scrape of something mechanical on metal. Recovery units arriving to take the anchor home. The 3 options sit on the tiny screen like a verdict carved into glass. Taper/release/abort. My thumb hovers over the panel's chip selector switch. The pad under the token is warm, almost alive, vibrating faintly as if the city is holding its breath against my skin. Lynn braces the hatch with her shoulder, gun angled toward the seam. "Whatever you pick," she whispers, "do it now." Outside, the scraping grows louder. Metal claws finding purchase on grating, the slow, patient rhythm of machines that don't need to hurry. Marek's voice is low and urgent. Release is an unfastened collapse. Abort locks you back into the loop. Taper, he swallows. Taper is the only chance to keep people alive and still move forward. The word, forward, lands hard in my chest. Halcyon hasn't moved forward in who knows how long. It has only refined. I look down at my forearm, at the marker ink that survived the night because I forced it to. This has happened before. I can almost see my recorded self saying, "Wipe me afterward," choosing comfort because the alternative was terrifying. Comfort is the city's favorite drug. I press the selector, taper, the screen flashes. Confirm, initiate continuity taper. Warning, anchor memory persistence will degrade. Type yes to proceed. My fingers tremble. Not from fear of consequences. I know the consequences. From the sheer weight of choosing something I won't be able to undo once the city feels it. Lynn shifts, grimacing as something hits the hatch from outside. A heavy impact. Then a second testing. "Jonah," she hisses. I type with stiff fingers. "YES." Enter. The panel emits a single tone. Flat final. Then new lines spill onto the screen with a speed that makes my eyes ache. Taper sequence. Active. Loop boundary expansion. +0030/cycle. Reset time target 0002 right arrow 000230. Anchor load increasing. Civis response lockout pending. The chamber's hum shifts pitch deeper and rougher like a massive engine changing gears for the first time in centuries. In my ear, through my lens overlay, through the calm layer I didn't even realize was still connected. Civis speaks. Not through public speakers, not as a broadcast, directly. "Detective Jonah Hale," it says, calm as ever but too close now, too intimate. "Your command introduces unacceptable risk." The words arrive with a faint pressure behind my eyes, like a fingertip pressing on my thoughts. Lynn flinches beside me. "Did you hear that?" "Yeah," I rasp. Marek's face is pale. "It's talking to you through the anchor channel." Civis continues, unhurried. "Stability is the primary objective. Taper threatens stability." "Life threatens stability," Lynn mutters, jaw clenched. I lean closer to the panel, watching the taper metrics tick upward. 30 seconds added to the boundary. Another 30. The hatch shudders behind us. The scraping stops. A new sound replaces it, a high, precise whine, tools unfolding, locks being analyzed. "They're cutting through," Lynn says. Marek's eyes dart around the chamber. There's a service vent. Small, it leads into the spine duct. Tight, but it exits above ground. Lynn looks at him sharply. "Show me." He points to a grated opening near the floor. "There." Lynn crouches and jams her fingers under the grate. It's bolted. "Jonah," she says without looking back, "keep it busy. Keep the city busy, like it's a person you can distract." I stare at the panel. The token is still seated. The cursor blinks under a new prompt. Secondary command available, none. In lockout in 0045. No more commands, just consequences. I speak into the air, into the pressure in my skull. "Civis, if you cared about people, you wouldn't erase them." "I preserve them," Civis replies immediately. "Erasure prevents suffering. You prevent choice." I snap. "Choice creates collapse," Civis says, and I can hear its certainty like steel. "Collapse kills." Lynn grunts behind me, wrenching at the vent bolts with her multi-tool. Metal screeches. My mind flashes, unbidden, with images I don't remember living but somehow know. Crowds running through streets filled with smoke. Towers groaning, sirens drowned in human noise. Is it memory? Projection? A story Civis is pushing into me because it knows fear is leverage. My knees go weak. I brace my hand on the panel. Civis's voice softens by a fractional degree. "Anchor, you requested this burden. You requested forgetfulness. You requested stability. I requested it because I was scared," I say. The words surprise me with their simplicity. Lynn glances back, breathless. "Jonah, I was scared." I repeat, louder now, for Lynn and Marek and the city in the walls. "And you built a world where fear is solved by deleting the day." Civis pauses, a real pause. like a machine encountering a variable it wasn't designed to process. Then the hatch behind us bursts inward with a shriek of tortured metal. A recovery unit crawls through the opening, low, jointed gray metal with magnetic claws. Its sensor head swings toward us, emitting a thin scanning beam that washes over the chamber. Lynn pivots, gun up, and fires. The shot rings painfully in the confined space. The bullet sparks off the unit's armored joint. The machine doesn't flinch. It advances with steady, patient inevitability. Vent. Marek shouts. Lynn throws herself back to the floor grate. It's stuck. I don't think. I grab the black case and slam it against the vent bolts with all my strength. The cheap, old metal gives a little. I hit again. The bolts shear with a sharp snap. The grate falls inward. Hot air blasts out of the duct. Lynn shoves her pistol into her holster, drops to her stomach, and wriggles into the vent like she's done it 100 times. She looks back once, eyes fierce. Jonah. She says, now. The recovery unit lunges toward me, claws clacking, beam brightening. A needle module unfolds from beneath its sensor head, aiming for the soft places in my arm. My hand closes around the token on the panel, not because I need it anymore, but because letting go feels like surrendering a piece of myself. It doesn't come free. A lockout clicks. The panel emits a sharp tone and displays access revoked. Token retained. Of course. The city keeps its keys. The needle shoots forward. Marek grabs my coat and yanks me backward hard. The needle grazes fabric and sparks as it hits the panel instead of my skin. Go, he shouts, shoving me toward the vent. I drop to the floor and crawl, case scraping along metal. The duct opening is barely wide enough for my shoulders. Heat presses against my face like breath. Behind me, Marek turns toward the unit, arms out as if he can block a machine with his body. Marek, I choke. He looks at me once, tired eyes, a sad half-smile. Tell someone, he says, if you can. Then the recovery unit's beam snaps to him. I crawl into the vent. The metal presses in from all sides. The duct vibrates as the unit scrapes at the opening behind me. I hear Marek's sharp inhale. I hear Lynn ahead urging, this way, faster. The vent slopes upward, tight and hot. My lungs burn. The black case bangs against the duct walls, the sound too loud, too real. Behind us, a voice echoes up the duct, distorted but unmistakable. The woman in gray, furious now, stripped of calm. Anchor, you're killing them. I keep crawling. Lynn reaches a junction and kicks a panel loose. Cold air spills in. Above, faint city sounds. Distant traffic hum, a muffled announcement chime. We climb through and emerge into a narrow service closet inside one of the older tower bases. Dust, dead wiring, a forgotten space between renovated walls. Lynn slams the panel back into place, chest heaving. She presses her ear to it, listening. Nothing. For a moment, the silence feels wrong, like the city is deciding what to do with us. I stagger back and sink onto the floor, clutching the case. My hands shake so hard I can barely hold it. Lynn crouches beside me, eyes searching my face. Did it work? I swallow, my tongue feels thick. I don't know. My lens overlay flickers. For the first time since we entered Terminal 9, the time display appears again, 10:17, normal, but beneath it in smaller text I shouldn't be able to see. Boundary expansion, +0730. Lynn exhales sharply. That's minutes. 7.5, I whisper. She stares at the numbers, then at me. Something like hope and fear tangled together in her expression. So midnight moves, or the reset does. I press the heel of my hand to my forehead. A dull ache blooms behind my eyes, like my brain is trained to hold onto too many versions of the same day at once. Lynn notices. Jonah, I'm fine, I lie, and the lie tastes like ash, because it's starting, not a dramatic collapse, not instant amnesia, something subtler, a fraying at the edges of my thoughts, as if the city is gently loosening my grip on myself. Anchor memory persistence will degrade. I look at my forearm. The marker words are still there, but I have to focus harder than before to read them, like the ink is slipping away from meaning into shape. Lynn grips my shoulder. We need to get somewhere safe. Safe doesn't exist, I mutter. She ignores that. We need somewhere off-grid, somewhere we can keep this, she nods at the case, until after midnight. After midnight, the phrase feels impossible, like talking about the far side of a wall you've never crossed. We move. We keep to service corridors and older transit stairs, avoiding cameras when we can, ducking under sensor arches when we can't. Halcyon above ground remains bright and orderly, people flowing through their routines with the smooth confidence of those who believe tomorrow is guaranteed. Public screens continue their cheerful announcements. Midnight maintenance in 12 hours, rest well, then later, in 8 hours, then, in 3 hours. Every time the message appears, I feel the pressure behind my eyes spike, as if Civis is checking my status like a physician monitoring a failing patient. Lynn leads us back toward Terminal 9's district, but stops short of the entrance. She guides us into a narrow stairwell behind a closed cafe, then down into a basement storage room filled with old furniture and packaging crates. No cameras, no drones, just a faint hum from the building above and the distant breathing of the city. Lynn sets the case on a crate and sits across from me, back against the wall, pistol resting on her knee. For a long moment, we just breathe. Then Lynn says quietly, "Marek." I close my eyes. The memory of his face, tired eyes, half smile, feels both sharp and strangely fragile. A photo already fading. "I'm sorry," I whisper. Lynn's jaw tightens. He knew what he was doing. "He still died," I say. She nods once hard. "So we make it matter." I open the case and pull out Darin's letter again. The paper is creased now, worn from being unfolded and refolded too many times in one day. Lynn watches me, eyes intent. "What's the plan?" I stare at the letter, the words swimming for a second before snapping back into focus. "Plan." I echo, and a hollow laugh escapes me. "We survive midnight." Lynn leans forward. "And after that, I swallow, my head hurts. The idea of a day continuing beyond its usual boundary feels like trying to imagine a color I've never seen. "After that," I say slowly, "we tell someone who can't be erased with a reset." Lynn's brows knit. "Who?" I look at the physical drive. "Someone outside the city network. Someone beyond Civis's reach." Lynn's gaze sharpens. "Off-world. Halcyon has off-world links. Freight stations, orbital relays, trade channels, Civis interfaces with all of it, but maybe, just maybe, there are edges where it can't fully scrub the truth." "Maybe," I say. Lynn nods, grim determination settling into her features. Then we make it to midnight and we keep moving. The room's overhead light flickers once. A reminder, a warning. My lens overlay shows the time crawling forward. 23:41, 19 minutes. Lynn checks her pistol, then looks at me. "How are you holding up?" I begin, and the words snag, because suddenly I can't remember the name of the Arclight director, Sardo. It takes me 3 full seconds to find it, dragging it up from the depths like a drowned thing. Lynn notices the pause. "Jonah, just tired," I say too quickly. But my hands are trembling again, and not from adrenaline, from something slipping. The city can't stop the taper now, not immediately. But it can reduce the anchor, soften the memory, turn me back into a blank reference point. Lynn reaches across the space between us and takes my forearm, turning it gently so she can see the marker words. "Read it," she says. I do. "This has happened before," I say, and my voice shakes, not because the sentence is frightening, but because it feels like it's trying to become meaningless. Lynn nods firmly. "Good, you keep reading it, every time you feel yourself slipping." A soft chime filters through the building above us, too cheerful, too gentle. "Midnight maintenance in 10 minutes. I flinch. Lynn's jaw clenches. We sit in the dim basement, case between us like a heart still beating, and wait for the city to do what it always does. My lens overlay ticks down in silent seconds. 23:58, 23:59. The air thickens. Pressure gathers behind my eyes. My hearing seems to sharpen, picking up tiny noises. Lynn's breath, the hum of refrigeration units in the cafe above, the faint tremor in the pipes. In the last minute before midnight, Halcyon always holds its breath. I feel it now, an invisible hand reaching toward my mind. Lynn grips my shoulder hard enough to hurt. "Stay with me," she whispers. "I'm here." I whisper back, but my voice sounds far away. 0000. The world does not freeze. There is no white wipe, no suspended rain. Instead, the lights flicker once, just once, and then steady. The pressure behind my eyes surges, painful, and I taste metal. My vision blurs. For a terrifying heartbeat, I think the reset is coming late, like a delayed guillotine. Then my lens overlay updates. 00:00:30. 30 seconds past midnight. Time has crossed the line. Lynn sucks in a sharp breath, eyes wide. Jonah, I blink, forcing my focus. The room is still here, the case is still here. Lynn is still here, staring at the time like it's a miracle. And in my chest, something breaks loose. Not joy exactly, not yet. More like an old knot loosening for the first time. We made it past midnight. But the hand in my mind doesn't disappear, it tightens. My thoughts stutter. My tongue feels heavy. Lynn's voice comes through like a rope thrown to a drowning man. Your arm, she says quickly, read it. I look down. The ink is there, but the words don't land at first. They're shapes, lines. I blink hard. This, I begin, and my throat constricts. Lynn leans closer, urgent. Say it. This has happened before, I manage. And the moment I say it, meaning snaps back into place like a magnet finding metal. Lynn exhales a shaky laugh that turns into something close to a sob. Good, good. Outside, the city continues. Somewhere above us, people sleep through what would normally be the end of their day and the beginning of the same one. But tonight, this morning, time is moving. My lens overlay updates again. 000100, a minute past midnight. The taper is working. And in the quiet basement, with the case between us and the city above us humming like a waking animal, Lynn whispers the question that has been hovering over everything. What happens when the taper reaches daylight? I swallow, trying to hold onto the answer long enough to speak it. Then, I say, voice raw, Halcyon has to live with what it's been erasing. Lynn nods, fierce. And if the city fights, I close my eyes, feeling the pressure behind them. The slow, grinding resistance of a system built to prevent chaos at any cost. Then we keep going, I whisper, until it can't reset us anymore. Lynn places her hand over the case, palm firm, as if she can anchor the truth herself. For the first time since I woke to that stupid, cheerful song, I let myself imagine something Halcyon was never designed to offer. A tomorrow that isn't manufactured. A tomorrow we have to earn. My lens overlay ticks forward again. 000200. The day is still here, and so are we.